A summit in Turkey aims to shake up the world's emergency response system to humanitarian crises. The woman accused of leading one of Africa's biggest ivory smuggling rings goes on trial in Tanzania. And ready, set, think. Mind-controlled drones race to the future. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening and welcome. I'm Vincent Makori. This is Africa 54. Leaders from around the world gathered in Istanbul, Turkey on Monday for a long-awaited two-day humanitarian summit with hopes of instituting concrete protocols for dealing with future refugee crises. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called on governments, businesses and aid groups to commit to cutting by 50% the number of displaced civilians by 2030. The United Nations-backed summit, which will run through Wednesday, is billed to serve as a wake-up call for action in dealing with recurrent disasters and reducing the vulnerability of developing nations. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon called on those gathered to help give those people in need a chance at a better future.
We are here to shape a different future. Today we declare we are one humanity with the shared responsibilities. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let us resolve ourselves here and now, not only to keep people alive, but to give people a chance at life in dignity.
More than 125 heads of state and government came together with representatives of the UN in Turkey, which has been particularly hard hit by the ongoing migrant crisis in Europe. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan urged nations to work together to solve the problem.
We as leaders and responsible people of the international community can only be successful if we work toward common principles and goals.
Turkey is currently providing refuge to around 2.7 million people fleeing the conflict in Syria, a point it will likely emphasize as the event unfolds. Skeptics have voiced concerns that the event will result in little more than a well-publicized focus group, but UN officials say they hope it will serve as the catalyst for change that will help ease the suffering of the millions of the world's poorest people. More than 5,000 people are expected to participate in the summit. Well, for the latest on the summit in Turkey, journalist Kimberly Curtis joins me live via Skype from Istanbul. Good evening, Kimberly.
Good evening.
Now, what to you stood out in today's session?
Well, today was a lot about financing in terms of finding more money to address these crises, but also how to stretch what funding already comes in. So most of the discussion today was about what's called the grand bargain and working with NGOs and governments to reshape aid for the future.
Now, we know that there are few, and particularly one major aid organization, MSF, in fact, boycotted this summit. What are they saying? What do they have against this kind of a summit?
I don't think they had anything against the summit. I think their issue was a lot of the problems going on in the world today have political causes. And so bringing together a bunch of governments to say that they're going to commit to doing things better in the future while not actually changing their policies on the ground is a type of hypocrisy that MSF didn't really want to be a part of.
Now, of course, this then is going to be discussed. How critical is the changing of policy? What is the hindrance in terms of the policy of the countries that are recipients of these refugees?
Yeah, I mean, there's domestic policies and everyone always has their own concerns. And so it's great to make commitments that you're going to take in a certain number of refugees, that you're going to improve the dignity of those who are forcibly displaced. You're going to increase, money flows and all of that. However, those words mean nothing unless you have concrete action. So a big part of what people are looking for is if everything that's being said today by these governments and by these NGOs is actually followed up with concrete action.
So we have, one more day. What can we look forward to?
I think it's going to be more of the same. Tomorrow, a lot more of it is dedicated to accountability in terms of conflict and making sure that governments and NGOs and the international community at large is addressing the root causes that are causing these conflicts and therefore causing these refugee flows.
Well, we'll be keeping an eye there. Kimberly, thank you very much for your reporting.
Thank you.
Kimberly Curtis reporting live via Skype from Istanbul in Turkey, now all the way to